You know what? I think we're ready to go. This is your first time tuning in. I got a new Logitech webcam for this show. I'd like to welcome everyone who's watching for the first time, either watching live or going to be watching this after it goes up on the channel. Welcome. This is Indycarper. I am your host, Hunter, A.K.A. Cakes Race. I am your resident IndyCar armchair couch analyst. And you know what? We need to have we had probably what I think is probably going to be the worst race of the year and probably the worst weekend of the year with the IndyCar $1 Million All Star Challenge at Thermal Club. And that's something we really need to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, I want to make sure I'm going to look on my feed, make sure that the video looks good. See if I need to make any adjustments. All right, yep. We got to have this talk. This is the IndyCar post thermal episode because I made this graphic a few weeks back on Canva. I love Canva. Post thermal episode. We had the Thermal Club $1 Million Challenge this weekend. Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. First off, I want to give my. This might sound a little narcissistic, but I want to give myself a pat on the back. So I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back for this one because I ended up picking the winners. I ended up picking the winner of the race. My three picks were Will Power, Alex Palou, and my shot in the dark was Marcus Armstrong. Will Power unfortunately missed the event, so that one took an L. Marcus Armstrong ended up finishing fifth in the main event. And then our last year's champion, Alex Palou, Ganassi had kind of a bad weekend at St. Petersburg. Alex Palou comes back. He ends up finishing first. Armstrong finished fifth, and I believe Linus Lundqvist finished sixth in the main event. So pretty good showing for Ganassi. And I'm just happy I predicted the winner, so I gotta give myself a good old pat on the back. I know that might sound narcissistic, but whatever. Okay. Let's go ahead. This was the final results. The image via NBC's broadcast of Thermal Club. No, we can't see it. Let me just go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in, and then we can talk about the DNQs. I want to zoom in on the. Let's make sure. Yep, we're zoomed in. Yep, it should be zoomed in better to see the top 12, the 12 that qualified for the Thermal Club $1 Million Challenge. Here are the results. Top three, Alex Blow for Chip Ganassi Racing past champion, kind of led from start to finish. One heat two, so big congrats to Alex Blow. Probably needs that money with all the litigation and issues with McLaren. Helps battle court cases. Second place, you had the Thirsty Three, Scott McLaughlin. Always Penske's always going to have a great run. Scott McLaughlin, wild card two. Speaking of Andretti, fourth place, Colton Herta. I know the negativity, but Colton Herta really made the main event kind of interesting. It was slicing and dicing between everyone, including having a great battle with Alexander Rossi. Fifth place, my shot in the dark pick for the weekend, Marcus Armstrong. And then sixth place, Linus Lundqvist, two Ganassi guys. Lundqvist, highest finishing rookie. I know this ain't a points race, but Lundqvist and Armstrong both needed this weekend after bad showings at St. Petersburg. So you gotta give a shout out to him. Alexander Rossi comes home in seventh. The number seven finished in seventh, so that was a great run for him. Ends up finishing sixth in ends up getting the transfer spot in the second main. Makes the race. Kind of runs solidly seventh throughout the main event. So an alright day for Alexander Rossi. Eighth place, Joseph Newgarden, St. Petersburg winner. Really nothing much happened in the race. He still finished the race. Lundgaard finished ninth because they wouldn't let him fix any side pod issues with the car because they would have disqualified him, but he kind of limped around, finished ninth. Augustin Campino for Hooncoast Hollinger Racing. He ends up coming home in 10th, top 10, solid top 10 day for Augustine. Great run for that small Junco Solinger team. So congrats to him, and I'm sure the Argentinian fans are happy to see him get a top 10. In 11th and 12th, Graham Rahal, Pietro Fittipaldi, two other Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan cars, both made the main event. Both of them ended up not finishing the race. Pietro Fittipaldi actually got DQ'd from the main event because he was feeling something about feeling the car. I'll have to dig deep more into it. And I believe Graham Rahal had a steering issue. So all three of the RLL cars did make the main event. So congrats to them. And yeah, and now we got to talk about. I want to talk about the DQs for both the heat races. For both heat races, let me. For both the heat races, Heat one. Uh, Heat one, you had the DQs for Nolan Siegel, Santino Ferrucci. Nolan Siegel, rookie, first race. I kind of understand the DQ, but this wasn't a points race. We'll see more of them at Long Beach in a few weeks. Santino Ferrucci, Will Power. Will Power was actually surprised in DQ. We'll dive more into that later, but I believe him and a few other drivers got into it. The Heat one. Kirkwood's not having a great start to the season. I hope he has some success when we go back to Long Beach. He is the defending winner there. I'll talk more into Long Beach later on in the show. Stingray Rob, Scott Dixon, Renus VK, Romain Grosjean all didn't make the main. So I'm kind of surprised for Scott Dixon because he is a six-time champion, always fast, but it's whatever. It isn't a points making race. It was just a money run event. And going into Heat 2, Pato and Rossi were fighting for that last transfer spot. Ended up going to Rossi. Then you have the four rookies that ended up missing the field with Blomqvist, Rasmussen, Kiffin Simpson, and Colin Brown. Telling my lot in this last scheduled start for Aaron McLaren SP because we will see David Malukas get his debut in the sixth car at Long Beach. Didn't end up making the main event. Still think he deserves a shot in IndyCar at least in 2025. Then Marcus Ericsson, he's also not having a great start to his Andretti tenure. He is consistently being fast, but it's whatever. And then Colin Brown, I get it. He was kind of a last minute ad. He was only doing the first two races. We may see him back at Long Beach. We may not. Who knows? But overall, not a great run. Going back to the standing, the driver that finished fourth, I always do this award. It's the Case Racing Driver of the Day. The driver I was most impressed in either the main or the heat races. And outside, I think this race was kind of a nothing burger. Except for the guy who finished fourth, I think he deserves the Casey Racing Driver of the Day for at least making the race attempt to be interesting. The Casey Racing Driver of the Day goes to the one and only Colt Herta. He finished fourth in the main event. He had a nice battle with Alexander Rossi, and that was probably one of the main entertaining things for the race. I think Colt Herta made the race kind of entertaining. He ended up finishing fourth, almost got a podium. So we gotta give a congratulations to him. He joined. I gave the driver of the day for St. Petersburg to Alexander Rossi. Alexander Rossi deserved that driver of the day at St. Petersburg. I think Colton Herta deserves it this week at Thermal Club. So congrats to him. Finishes fourth, gets a nice little payday. Which kind of weird. He is the same. I'm actually older than Colton Herta by a couple months, but go ahead, congrats to him. And we may see him go off at Long Beach. But before we talk about Long Beach, we gotta have this tough discussion about Thermal Club. I mean, the consensus was on TV. I agree with the consensus. I don't think it was that great, honestly. From IndyCar armchair analyst perspective and a diehard IndyCar fan, I don't think it was a great idea. But I think David Land said it best from this quote. It was advertised as made for TV, but if anything, this was a race that was much better in person. That's something that I would that I think describes the race perfectly because mainly a lot of the people giving it praise were a lot of the people that were there because uh, Thermal Club is one of those tracks where to it's probably better in person and it's kind of a high end glitz and glamour track. And I get it wasn't a great race, but there's always possibility. Usually, if you're going to a new place, the first when you throw something at the wall, first try usually is going to be the worst try. Just look at the national GP. First race wasn't that great of a race. It was kind of a caution test, and usually when the first race is not going to be the best race, and I fully get that. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe first race was a dud. And my thoughts is Thermal Club's kind of a private high end glitz and glamour track. But that's I know I'm just rambling and yapping. But you know what? If you want to make it better, I say there's different ideas on what can make it better. Specifically, I don't think it should have been I think 12 was way short of a field to have for the final event. I say you do top 7 in each my idea is top 7 in each heat race. You get 14 drivers and then you have either a fan vote or you do a past season's provisional for the race, which that might sound stupid for thinking about that for an all-star race, but that's how NASCAR does. They usually do a fan vote for who gets in. I think having the fan vote or a past champions provisional, past seasons like highest points driver provisional, I think that's a good idea for what can make it better. And also, or if you don't want to have a race on thermal, at least because they had a great test session last year. Why don't you just do a broadcasted test session there? I think Thermal Club's a great test track. Maybe it's not a great track to have an actual race. Not great passing. Marshall Pruitt said it best. The race kind of just seemed like a big nothing burger, and I fully understand that. I agree with the majority saying it wasn't good, but look, there's one IndyCar driver that wanted to blast fans about it. Quoted directly on Nathan Brown. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about this. You have Connor Daly. Want to make sure that we're good. Yeah, Connor Daly. I'm gonna fix the screen real quick. I'm gonna move myself over here. Make sure we're good. I'm gonna move myself out of the screen a little bit so that way we can all see the full article. Full article quoted by Nathan Brown. Actual quote from Connor Daly. He says, "Quote: No one's ever going to be fully happy, and some people are going to be angry with everything. Which that's something everyone's going to be. No matter what you do, you can't please everyone. But you got free racing to watch on Sunday, and if you're going to sit there and say I don't want to watch it, that just means you're not a race fan. That last part kind of ticked me off. If you sit there and say you don't want to watch it, that just means you're not a race fan. Connor, look, Connor, I love you. You're a cool person, and you've been preaching on Speed Street. You've been preaching nonstop on Speed Street. You need the betterment of IndyCar, and if you're going to be negative, why don't you offer solutions? You don't need to go, and then you going on here. This is how you lose fans. You want fans coming nonstop. You're preaching on Speed Street about how that you need to hit IndyCar needs to hit the million fan number, million viewer number for each race. And then you want to blast fans saying they don't want to watch it. That just means you're not a race fan. Come on, man. I guess I'm not a real race fan or not a race fan because I ended up taking a nap. I ended up watching the full race. Ended up taking a nap. I watched the full race delayed. I ended up taking a nap during the race, to be honest with you, because it was kind of a nothing burger, like Marshall Pruitt said. But you don't need to blast fans. This is how you don't get fans. You're preaching on Speed Street saying if you're going to be negative, this is roughly the quote I remember him saying is like he wants to have the betterment of IndyCar, and if you're going to be negative, offer up solutions. I didn't think the race was great. But that's fine. That's my opinion. But don't say if you're not gonna watch it, you're not a real race fan. And instead of saying, "Oh, you're not a real race fan," why don't you come out and say, "Look, you didn't like Thermal Club? That's fine. It wasn't even a points paying race. Why don't you tune in when we go to Long Beach at the end, towards the end of April?" I'm gonna personally, I'm doing this all by myself. Indycarper, everything else. This is just my opinion, my show. For me, Long Beach is my favorite race on the schedule outside of the Indy 500. It's the second longest tenured event on the schedule outside of the Indy 500. Been going on since 1975. Long Beach is my favorite race on the schedule. I'm gonna push the heck out of Long Beach. And Thermal Club might not have been everyone's cup of tea. Overall, seemed like a nothing burger. But don't call out the fans and saying if you don't want to watch it, that just means you're not a race fan. That's not how to go about it. That's how you push fans away, bro. Connor, that's not what we do. And you're constantly preaching. You were preaching all last year in 2022 about how for IndyCar you need to have the consistent 1 million viewers. This race didn't even hit 1 million viewers. It didn't even get 900,000. It got 816,000. You're preaching about 1 million, and then you go out and say that we're not real race fans, and because we didn't want to watch a high end basically test race with drivers going around in circles, basically IndyCar's version of an F1 race. It was basically an all star payday race. Maybe no one was a fan of it. That's fine. And instead of saying you don't want to watch that just means you're not a race fan, that's not how you go about it. I know I'm repeating myself, but that's just not how you go about it, man. You want to hit the $1 million viewers, that's the money viewers. You got 816,000 for this race. That's not how you go about getting fans saying you don't want to watch it. Don't pull the "you're not a real race fan" or "you're not a race fan" card. That's not how you get viewers. Instead of being negative and saying you're not a race fan and then preach saying if you're going to be negative on marketing, why don't you offer up solutions? This is me offering up a solution. You weren't a fan of Thermal Club, that's fine. Not everyone's cup of tea. Just be like, hey, give us another chance. If you didn't like Thermal Club, Long Beach, my favorite race on the schedule, my favorite track on the schedule. Like I said, I'm personally promoting the heck out of Long Beach. I'm I'm just gonna say you weren't a fan of Thermal Club, that's fine. Tune into Long Beach, my favorite track. Always gonna be a fun race, and I also have a little wearing an Andretti hat. Andretti's always good at Long Beach. I'm pushing the heck out of Long Beach. Don't say that's not how you get fans. That's how you push fans away. Is saying if you don't want to watch that, just means you're not a race fan. That's how you're gonna push fans away. We're better than that. I'm typically gonna be open to everyone joining up on IndyCar. If you weren't a fan of Thermal Club, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Don't be negative. Don't say you're not a race fan. That's how you push viewers away instead of bringing viewers to them. I'm gonna push the heck out of Long Beach. Long Beach is my favorite race. I hope you weren't. I hope any new IndyCar fans, this first race was the Thermal $1 Million Challenge. I hope you weren't turned off by IndyCar. I'm sorry. It wasn't a great race. There's ways to better it. Usually, the first race is always going to be the worst race when you're going to a new track. Me personally, I'm going to say watch Long Beach. My favorite track on the schedule. My favorite race on the schedule. Typically, the second biggest race on the schedule outside of the Indy 500 for IndyCar. I'm just want to remind you, go ahead and tune in to Long Beach. I'll talk about that more later on. Don't be a negative Nancy, and then say if you didn't like it, you're not a real race fan like Connor. Like, that's not how you go about it. And like David Wayne said, I think that's the best way to sum it up is it was advertised as being made for TV. But if anything, it was a race that was much better in person because all the people that actually attended the Throne Club race thought it was good, thought the venue was great. That's fine. But you don't need to attack the fan saying you're not a race fan. That's not how you go about it. And I know Connor Daly ain't gonna see this, but that's not how you go about it, bro. That's not the way to go. Well, we're done with the thermal club discussion. We did have this little bit of news drop. I was going to talk about it on pre-thermal, but I ended up not doing a pre-thermal show because I work overnights. I was kind of tired. We got already we're 1 to 2 races into the season. We already got silly season stuff dropping. This is all credit to Nathan Brown from IndyStar who reported it. Nathan Brown, IndyStar is going to be one of the sources I always use. Got to give a lot of major credit to them for this. Joseph Newgarden, he is the biggest name. He wins usually about 4 races a year. Mr. Iowa, two-time IndyCar champion, last year's Indy 500 winner, and he's a free agent next year. Pato Ward's contract got leaked. He's getting $4 million a year from McLaren, basically, and he only, like I said, he's got 4 career wins. He's basically got $1 million for every win he has. But Pato Ward's a hell of a driver. With that contract league, I think Newgarden and all the other free agents are going to view it like, hey, Newgarden especially is like, Pato got 4 wins a year, has 4 career wins. I usually win 4 races a year. Where does that leave me? I think either Newgarden's going to look for the payday, which he should. He's got 2 IndyCar championships. I think Penske might. I think him and Penske at the end of it. He's been. He's had his most success at Penske. He usually wins about 4 races a year, especially at Iowa. That's my pick of the year. That's like my no holds bar pick. Is like if you're gonna pick anyone to win Iowa, pick Joseph Newgarden. Basically free money. He averages 4 wins a year. I think him and Penske will have a compromise. I think Newgarden wants a payday. I think Penske wants to keep him. I don't think him and Penske want to leave. I think they've had their most success together. Why would you break that up? But it's got to be something that you got to work on both sides. I think Newgarden deserves a payday. He's probably going to look at Pato Ward's contract and use at the base what he's getting. He is the biggest name on the board, but we'll have to see as the season goes on what the 2025 silly season entails. Just a reminder, like I said, next race up for IndyCar. We do have a little bit of a break until April 21st. That's when we go to Long Beach, my favorite track on the schedule outside of Indy, my favorite race on the schedule. Typically going to be seen as the second biggest race on the schedule is the A.K.A. Grand Prix of Long Beach. Make this promo again. Typically an Andretti dominated track. You got the A.K.A. Grand Prix of Long Beach, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central, 1:30 p.m. Mountain. Made a typo. It's 12:30 p.m. Pacific. I know the first 2 races were on network, but this is going to be on cable, USA Network, and it's always streamed on Peacock. It's not going to be on regular NBC. It's going to be on USA Network and on Peacock. So make sure you have either a Peacock subscription or make sure you're watching on USA Network. I think Long Beach is going to be a better race than what we saw at Thermal Club. I'm sorry I had the crap on Thermal. I think it could be executed better, but like I said, the first race is better, always better. First race is always going to be the worst race. But remember, April 21st, we go to Long Beach. My favorite track on the schedule. I'm going to be promoting the heck out of it on Twitter. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I'll talk about that when I'm signing off. Long Beach, my favorite race on the schedule. I think it's always going to be a better race. April 21st, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central, 1:30 p.m. Mountain, 12:30 p.m. Pacific. I know we got a break. I'll talk about it more when I do a Long Beach episode the week of the race. USA streaming on Peacock, Grand Prix of Long Beach. I hope y'all tune in. This is the second point span race of the season. That's all. I think it's going to be a great race. I hope it is a great race. Make sure you tune in. I love Long Beach. And that's going to conclude for this episode of IndyCar. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Remember, follow me on Twitter /X or whatever you want to call it. HJCarp, CARP29. I'm going to be doing a special episode slash live show next Tuesday. I want to talk about some stuff and just a little bit of news I want to talk about. I know I've been kind of spotty with these shows, and I just want to say live shows are always. I decided live shows are going to be happening on Tuesday. Tuesdays are always going to be my live show day or my content days. I want to make Tuesday my permanent day. I decided I need to lock down a day. Tuesday's probably the best day to do it. And to sign off, as Pat McAfee, great Indianapolis sports player slash sports media contributor, says, and when he signs off of the show, I like to use it as a quote: "Be a friend, tell a friend something nice, might change your life." Tune in to Long Beach, April 21st, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change your life. I'm Casey Racem. I hope you enjoyed Indycarper. I know I said this was probably going to be my longest show. We hit a little bit over the 30-minute mark. Hope you enjoyed and tuned in. As always, I'm Casey Racem. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. Might change your life. Hope y'all are with me for Long Beach. Remember, these shows are going to be coming out on Tuesdays. I hope y'all enjoy it.